Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episodes of the Ultimate Comics Podcast. My name is Nabeel Gaber, and I'm one of your hosts.
And I'm Josh, the other host.
And this is the podcast where we talk about Ultimate Marvel, an imprint of Marvel Comics that began in the year 2000 in an attempt to bring Marvel and its characters into the 21st century, reimagining all of these characters for the early 2000s instead of the early 60s when most of them were created. And so Josh and I have been going through the original Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Fantastic Four, yada, 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 and just talking about the stories, what we like, what we don't like, what hasn't held up so much since this was over 20 years ago now, and what still holds up, what was adapted into other media and left a larger impact on the comics and everything else with Marvel. And so this week we're back to Ultimate Spider-Man, which is very exciting. We read issues 72 through 78, but we decided that there's a lot to cover for this whole story arc. So the first half we're doing in this episode, 72 through 75, and then we'll be back with 76 through 78 next episode. Josh, what do you
Yeah,
think of these issues?
I had a lot of fun. I thought this arc was really good. I really liked it. I am tired. Spoilers alert. This does become another story about the MJ Peter breakup, and I think this is the fourth time it's happened. So I'm a little tired of it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it does get pretty old after a while. In the original Ultimate, Peter and MJ break up quite a few times. And so by the second or third time, you're kind of like, okay, really? But this is a pretty big storyline just because it's the reintroduction of Harry Osborn to the story after
Yeah,
his last appearance in Ultimate Six, when he was last seen helping talk Norman Osborn down when he literally staged an attack on the US Capitol with his Sinister Six.
yeah,
And so now this is a very exciting, very personal, very intense story arc. I think Ultimate Spider Man just feels like it gets more and more intense as the issues go by, but I think this particular storyline really just ups the ante. It makes things more personal and more real. Not that they weren't before, because we've already experienced so much death, so much pain, so much stress in the lives of Spider Man and his whole cast. So I really love these issues for that. I'm like, wow, things get real in this arc.
yeah. And I really like them. We have like the traditional thing that audience may know from Spider-Man 3 and Spider-Man 2, where Harry is just taking orders from this ghost in his head because he has a goblin formula in him too. Spoilers, which is very reminiscent of Spider-Man 3, even though Spider-Man 3, the movie, will come out much later.
Yeah, just a few years after this one. Yeah,
Yeah,
not too much later, funnily enough.
yeah. And I believe that is the reason growing up, everyone just assumed. They're like, yeah, Hobgoblin's the bad guy in Spider-Man 3. And I'm like, no, he is not called Hobgoblin. He is not Hobgoblin. Here it is Hobgoblin. Perry is Hobgoblin, totally in this one. Spoilers. But this arc is called the Hobgoblin, so I don't feel
Yeah,
it's
not
that
much
bad
of
of
a
a spoiler.
spoiler.
Yeah. Basically, it happens ASAP.
Well, this is the big Hobgoblin storyline, and it's interesting because we'll get into it as we go into the story more, but it's not the Hobgoblin that you traditionally know in the main universe. Not that that was ever really clear cut, anyways, to begin with. It took a
Yeah.
long time in main Marvel for them to actually straighten out the whole secret identity of the Hobgoblin and the mystery of just who the hell is this guy. For so
Yeah.
long, people in editorial at Marvel, writers at Marvel, like were unclear as to who exactly the Hobgoblin was and what the story was there. I think after like a few decades, they finally figured it out. Maybe just a couple decades. Maybe I'll give them a little more credit, but it's still confusing for just the casual audience member. So
Yeah.
this is a different take on the Hobgoblin than just it eventually was revealed this is like Roderick Kingsley, and he's like a very cunning, like crafty Hobgoblin who's like really a criminal mastermind and is trying to be the new kingpin of crime or things like that. He wants to like stand toe to toe with like Wilson Fisk and characters like that in the criminal underworld. But this is pretty different, and we'll get into the differences as we go along.
Yeah.
But
But we
Josh, do you want to get started with these issues?
Yeah, let's get started. We start off with a flashback to the first Ultimate Spider-Man when Peter is bitten. This is 9 months ago, and I only made this connection. I don't know if that's a coincidence of 9 months, but that is for obviously the gestation period for a human baby. Meaning, throughout this time, Peter is like entering a new life, just as 9 months it takes to theoretically create a new life. Peter and MJ and the Spider-Man have are a new life within 9 months. Things have completely changed 180 or 360.
Damn, I did not make that connection. That's a pretty interesting take on that. But I can
Yeah,
see it. Yeah, it has been 9 months since the first issue of this series, so a
yeah.
whole lot has changed in that period. Like a lot has happened in a short period of time to Peter and his friends and his whole cast of characters.
We also revealed that Harry and MJ had a flirtatious thing going.
Yeah, after we spend the first few pages flashing back to when Peter was first bitten by that spider, MJ goes home afterwards and is sitting on her front porch. She's approached by Harry, asking about Peter. And yeah, through the dialogue, it's almost explicitly stated that they have been going out in secret. And then it's finally made fully explicit by them just like making out on the front lawn like a couple of
Yeah.
horny teenagers, as you do.
Yeah, in fact, Hera goes like, "You look hot without your glasses," and she goes, "I look hot with my glasses." And I'm like, it's very possible that had it not been for the spider and Peter becoming Spider-Man, I feel that MJ and Harry would have gone together. So like, I feel weird because it's revealed. I know you argue that she always had a thing for Peter, and like you had a thing for Peter,
Yeah,
but you
she
went
did.
with Harry instead. So
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I never know why MJ goes for Harry, I'll be honest, because this is a very common thing in various interpretations of Spider-Man media and in the comics even. MJ and Harry going out before she gets into a relationship with Peter. Like in the original comics, it's Peter and Gwen and then kind of like MJ and Harry, but she's really not that into it, as she isn't
yeah,
that into him in most versions. Like the
yeah,
90s cartoon, they have a thing going, and really it's Peter and MJ going on the whole time.
yeah.
He's simmering in the background. It's the same thing with the Sam Raimi movies and now with Ultimate. This is kind of a unique case in that they're doing it in secret as teenagers before Peter even becomes Spider-Man. And so at this point, no one had any idea that this even happened at all. Mainly just
It's
because like Harry says he's like, "Oh, it's my dad, like, you're my first real relationship." And so it's kind of like realistic in that way to teenagers. Just a lot of the annoying BS of being a teenager in a relationship. They're not official. They're just kind of like hanging out. They haven't told anyone.
it's
And then they
very
don't.
it's very physical is the other thing because they're not really they're talking about their friendship but they're talking a lot about like their physical attraction to each other. MJ would later in a few issues say like, this was just them fooling around, not a real relationship.
Yeah, it seemed pretty casual, and it seemed like she wanted it to be official and she wanted them to go public, but Harry for some reason wasn't willing to, if not because of his social circle, then maybe just because of his dad and the clearly toxic environment of his home life. So who knows exactly, but it
Yeah,
just doesn't happen. And cuz like I don't know, it was bound. Like, it was doomed to failure anyways, I'll be honest. It always is with MJ and Harry, no matter which universe you look at. They're never going to be the end game.
I know it happens in Spider-Man 1 the movie, but I really feel uncomfortable with the idea that Peter is this lurking guy willing just ready to steal MJ from Harry. Not to say Harry's always a great guy in the universe, but I just feel that has a dickishness to Peter that I just don't associate with Peter. It's like I'm just in the back waiting to steal my best friend's girl.
Well, I don't know. I feel like MJ also just is not ever that into Harry to begin with.
Yeah, but there's no
So,
excuse for for stealing. There's a more ethical way of doing it. Just saying.
well, she has free will. She has agency. She chose to be with Peter instead.
Yeah, but I don't like this idea of like Peter and MJ just backstabbing. Look, if you don't like Harry, break up with him cleanly, and then after a discernible period, move on to Peter. That being said,
Yeah.
Peter, man, don't go after your best friend's girl. It's a little too weird.
Well, it's not like he ever pursues her when they're dating. It's always
In
like
Spider-Man
after they've
1, they
broken
do.
up.
In Spider-Man 1, they
Spider-Man
do.
1, I can't even get into how ridiculously complicated that whole like love rectangle is because of Peter and MJ, but also MJ doesn't know that he's Spider-Man and has a thing for Spider-Man, and then obviously MJ and Harry, and that whole like there's a whole like quadrilateral going on there that we don't have time to get into. So
It's still a love triangle here. It's a love triangle here as well, though. I
yeah,
don't like love
no, it
triangle.
is. But to be fair, here the thing is that this was kind of a retcon. I don't think you can call it that much of a retcon because it's. I don't know if Bendis had this in mind the whole time, but they had secretly been dating at the beginning before really anything happened with Peter and MJ, and before Peter became Spider-Man, and before Norman became the Green Goblin. But obviously that ended and no one ever found out about that, is the
Yeah.
whole point. And then we cut to the present day where Peter is being beaten up by this random generic electricity villain in like a lab at Roxxon. And this guy wants adamantium for whatever reason. We never find out because he's meant to be a very one note villain. There's nothing to
Yeah.
him. He's just a generic electricity guy who's like, I want the adamantium.
He's a villain of the week that you beat within like the episode.
Yeah.
And Peter has not heard of adamantium, which kind of makes me think it's a new substance they recently-ish discovered.
Which is hilarious because like it was under his nose the whole time when he had his team ups with Wolverine. So like his team up / body swaps with Wolverine. Yeah.
The villain actually does beat Spider-Man and tries to hold him hostage so the scientists could give it to him. They're like, we don't know this guy.
Yeah, like kill him. We don't care.
Which Peter wakes up and beats the crap out of them and goes like, you guys are dicks.
Yeah, he's being very sarcastic. He's honestly like at his wit's end. He's like fed up with them. He's like, you know what? Whatever. I'm saving your lives, and you like really could not be bothered to value my life. No problem here. Thanks, guys. And no one explains to him when he's like wondering what the adamantium is or why this guy wanted him. Everyone just looks at him blankly. And he's like, you know what? Fine. Don't tell me. I just saved your lives. Whatever. Thanks for nothing. Blame everything on me. Bye.
Kind of reminds me of like that. If you guys watch Peacemaker, that scene where it goes like, "We'll torture your friend," and Peacemaker goes, "Do your worst to him. I don't care."
Yeah. That's literally what it is when like the villains got Spider-Man. He's literally like, I'll kill him. And they're like, okay, cool.
Like
Like,
we don't care who he is.
we don't
You
even
can
know
torture
this
him all you
guy.
want. You can tap
Yeah.
dance on his body for all we care.
Yeah, yeah, but Peter is clearly in a very bad state. You get inside of his headspace when he's swinging back to school, and he doesn't even know why he's Spider-Man anymore.
Yeah.
He's lost a lot of energy and time just turning into Spider-Man to stop this random robbery because he was planning on heading over to the Daily Bugle during his lunch break and like picking up his check, but now he like barely has time to get back to school. He didn't even have time to eat. He's just
Yeah.
exhausted, and he's like, my heart wasn't in that fight. That's why the villain got the drop on me. I don't even know why I'm Spider-Man anymore. He's still in this state of, this is a compulsion for me, but
Yeah.
I don't actively want to be Spider-Man anymore. So it's a really rough time already when we walk in on Peter at the beginning of this storyline.
It's also very relatable because I know people who are going to class, who have 2 jobs and a family, and you just go like, how do you have energy? And they go like, it's really
Yeah.
rough, and like your kid's sick, that messes up at least one of your jobs or school. It's hard.
Yeah, no, it's hard for anyone being in school, but also being a teenager who has a job and who is a superhero. It's like so many different things. He's got responsibilities at home with his aunt. They do a really good job in this series, as we said several times, of just showing the struggle of what it takes to be Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I do like that about Spider-Man. Like, I think since then we've had more characters who are quote unquote normal, but like he just has such a human experience about life in a way that so many other characters do not. When Pete first came out,
Exactly. He
Yeah.
still has to live his everyday life, despite the fact that he is this big shot superhero that's going out and saving the day. And even then, he's not that much of a big shot. Like, he still gets a bad rep in the media and everything. But
Yeah.
despite doing all this, he still has to deal with his life outside of being Spider-Man. He doesn't get a free pass out of that. If anything, it just makes it harder to live that life.
Yeah. At school, Harry has returned. We don't know how. We just see his back.
Yeah, Peter goes to school and everyone's cheering for Harry in the hallways, and he's back and everyone's celebrating. And then Peter's talking to MJ and is like, hey, like, stay away from Harry. And she's like, what? Why? And he gets very defensive, very upset. He starts yelling at her when she starts asking questions. He's like, don't ask questions. Just do what I say, okay?
Yeah.
And like, she hits him with a real big comeback, which cuts deep, which is, I didn't kill Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
So she's calling out exactly what he's scared about and what he's insecure about. She's like, hey, man, you're yelling at me because you feel guilty and stressed out and a lot of trauma is coming back to haunt you, but I didn't kill Gwen Stacy, so that's something you're going to have to deal with on your own.
I think there's also this thing where Peter, it's his first relationship. He's a teenager with all the stress and hormones. He's kind of expressing a little toxic masculinity. I could boss this girl around who's my girlfriend. I could be territorial.
Yeah.
I could boss, and which he shouldn't, especially because he's not explaining why.
Yeah, I think if you didn't know Peter was Spider-Man and you didn't understand the real danger that MJ could be in and the stakes here, if you forget all of that, it just seems like he is being a pretty almost abusive, really toxic boyfriend. He's being very controlling and very domineering in some of the language he's using throughout this arc. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but I do get where the character is coming from. It's just like,
Yeah.
eesh, it's a little rough.
Especially because I feel like it's one thing if
Mm,
he's like that and he learns from it, but we don't get the sense he's learning not to do this or to go about it a different way.
yeah, maybe not yet. I mean, there's still plenty of the series left, and he's still pretty young, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
not a good look for him so far.
yeah. Especially if you're a high school boyfriend, man. I'm not saying because there's people who get married to their high school boyfriends and girlfriends, but I'm like, as an adult, some guys go this way. As a teen, you really shouldn't act this way as a teen. Like you should act this way as an adult, but you especially shouldn't as a teen. That's my take on.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah,
totally.
yeah,
And Peter goes home, and it's revealed he and Aunt May are preparing to move. And
mhm,
it's later revealed that it's just because too many deaths have happened in their house. And so they can't really like deal with it anymore. And they're
yeah,
just moving a couple doors down across the street. But they're getting ready, and Peter's in the basement, and he's stressing all out about Harry returning, and what that means, and if Harry remembers who he is, and how much Harry knows, and all that. And then, lo and behold, Harry Osborn shows up in his basement.
yeah. And just like Spider-Man 3, he rubs it in Peter's face that he used to bang MJ.
Well, yeah, that's a big thing. He's like, "Yep, I come back, and I realize you've stolen my girl." And Peter's like, "What?" Because Peter obviously had no idea that they were
Yeah,
even a thing before. So it's this big, shocking ending to issue 72.
yeah. That's the thing. If like the way they do it, and same in the movies, I'm like, it just makes Peter sound like a jerk who betrayed his friend.
Well, he didn't know. He had no
Okay,
idea
that's
that Harry
fair.
and MJ were together.
But there's like a dickishness to us that like makes you feel sad for Harry to a certain degree.
I don't really feel sad for Harry.
I don't
Like,
know.
I
I
feel
feel sad
sad
for
for the way he was treated by his father and his childhood and just his family life. When it comes to the whole Peter, Harry, MJ thing, I don't really feel sad for him.
I kind of do. Like, I don't think in this case it's Peter's fault. Imagine you just come home from trauma and you found out your best friend and your girlfriend moved on with each other. You're not going to be happy about that.
Yeah, that's gotta suck, but I don't blame Peter and MJ for that.
I guess you can't really, but it just sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
Issue 73 actually flashes back to just how Harry got to this point. And they do this for the first few issues of this arc, which is fun, is they alternate the perspective from the present day
Yeah.
to like these flashbacks with Harry. And so it goes to Harry in Colorado. He's at this like rehab center that Shield set him up at, and he's fighting a lot of the memories that he's suppressed from the Green Goblin and everything.
It kind of reminds me of a lot of those rehab centers and getaway camps for rich kids where they go like, you're traumatized, you're on
Hmm.
drugs. The rest of us get put into regular hospitals, but the rich kids get like this cabin in Colorado or in Santa Monica with horses and nature, and you're just with butlers and nice drinks.
Yeah, that's true. He gets
Yeah,
a really nice setup. It is a good treatment that he gets.
yeah. Look, I know it sucks to go to these places, but I'm like, if you had to get sent to a place, might as well be a place where like, anyone else would go there would have to. It's like a vacation they spent years saving up to go. So he's glamping,
Yeah,
as
I mean, he
the kids say
gets the
nowadays.
best treatment possible. Yeah. Then Nick Fury shows up and he tells Harry, "Hey, you're going home." And Harry starts asking questions because obviously there's a lot of gaps there, and he's trying to figure out stuff about his dad. And Fury has to be like, "Hey, we can't really tell you everything about Norman
Mhm.
because national security and that's classified, but your dad did make some bad choices, and
Yeah,
you're set up with family like your grandfather. You're going to stay with him. And also, you inherited your parents' money because we made it so that legally you're an orphan. So, congrats, you're rich."
yeah.
And so Harry's like, "Okay, I guess I will take it."
I do like how they go. He finally pushes Nick Fury. Nick Fury goes, "All right, kid, your dad turned himself into a giant monster. You happy?" That's
Yeah, he's like, "We're
uh,
already giving you more than we should be at this point. And it's because we
yeah,
feel bad because your dad turned into this giant monster and now you're basically an orphan."
yeah. And like, I just love like Harry's just like shocked at the news. He's like, "What?" To be fair, like this is a normal universe, and then like he's kind of been out of it, and his first introduction to this universe is like, your dad turned himself into a giant monster. Okay, now go home, kid. Go home with your millions of dollars.
Yeah, this storyline does do a good job at making you feel bad for Harry because he does get shafted in so many cases with his dad turning into a monster, killing his mom, and then his best friend being this superhero who's fighting his dad, and his dad also favoring his best friend over him and seeing him as the son he never had and calling him his boy and stuff. That's really a lot to deal with. And now he also
Yeah.
has been brainwashed and his memories have been repressed by Shield. So
The thing I always got with Harry Osborn in the comics and most of the movies is that he's not a bad guy, but he's thoroughly an unimpressive kid who has millions of dollars at his disposal.
yeah, that's
And
the thing.
yeah, Norman just sees more potential in like Peter, and it's like you're this
Yeah,
great scientist, self-made billionaire, and you have this son who's not a bad kid, but he's just like unimpressive, which is fine. That's most of us. And then you have Peter, who's like closer to you in terms of like ability, and you go like, why do I have this loser as a kid when that's my real kid at everything? He has my genes.
yeah, exactly. Harry got a bad deal, honestly. He's not a bad guy. He just did end up getting a bad deal. I mean, when you cast James Franco as Harry Osborn in the movies, he does come off as more of a bad guy, but that's neither here nor there. He
Yeah,
is just as a character, just a regular dude. I mean, who did come from money, was raised by like rich parents, but yeah, he does get a rough deal, especially in Ultimate Spider-Man here.
I'm also reminded of regular Spider-Man, where like when given the chance to be a little separated from Norman, he can lead like a relatively stable-ish normal life. Yeah,
Yeah, no, totally. And I think you
yeah,
see moments of that in the main universe of him going on redemption arcs or going on the upswing from when he's been struggling a lot with like mental health and issues of substance abuse and things like that.
yeah.
I think it's cool to see him on an upward trajectory because then you see him like coming back from all this, like despite all the BS with like his father and with him being tangled up with Spider-Man, no pun intended, and all this stuff and
Haha.
creating a life for himself. But yeah, too often he does get screwed over in the main comics too, and he gets treated pretty poorly. And you
Yeah.
just can't help feel bad for the guy.
I have mixed feelings because I do feel bad for him, but at the same time, you're like, Harry to a certain degree also represents this idea that like, here's someone with more advantages who's just so unremarkable and like it's just kind of wasting these gifts he has, as opposed to Peter, who's like doing the stereotypical pulling himself up by the bootstraps while being a superhero and everything.
Yeah, I mean, Peter's just built different, I'll be honest. Some of the shit
Yeah,
that Peter Parker has gone through, you got to
yeah,
commend him for, because I feel like anyone else, if they went through it, would just curl up in a ball, crawl inside a hole, and just like pray for death. I think, especially if you look at what he's been through in the past in 20 years in comics, he's made of sterner stuff. Like, Peter Parker is just a real one for all the
I
bullshit
know.
he's dealt with.
One of the original what if stories is what if Harry or MJ got bitten with a spider instead of Peter? It just kind of reminds me. I bet there's a world out there where if Harry got bitten by the spider instead of Peter, Harry would have been a pretty unremarkable hero, if anything, and Peter would have been the villain. It's like, oh, here's this guy who's kind of a loser, but just has all the advantages that I don't have, and now he has superpowers. So I pulled myself up. That's a waste.
I mean, yeah, I feel like with Harry, it would be tougher because he didn't have a good foundation like Peter had with Uncle Ben and Aunt May. So I think it would have been harder for him. And like with his dad, I feel like it actually would have been more dangerous for him to get superpowers like that.
Yeah, I
So it'd
guess
be interesting to see. But
he has bad self discipline and impulse control too. I believe Peter, Harry.
yeah, that's for sure. And he's just got like so many issues. So it's tougher. But it's always fun seeing what if stories of different people becoming Spider-Man, like Flash Thompson. I love that what if.
I have not
That
read
was a
that.
really good
What
one. But
happens?
oh, I'd recommend. He does a really good job, honestly. He's
Oh, good on
I'd
Flash.
recommend. It's like Jerry Conway, and I can't remember who the artist is, but yeah, but he
Good on
also
the
has to
Flash.
accept a lot of his faults and his shortcomings and what makes him different from Peter. And the biggest
Yeah.
flaw of all is that he's notoriously known for being a bully, and he has to accept that about himself and realize, oh, he's actually been kind of a jerk and kind of an asshole for most of his
Oh,
life, and now this is like him going on a redemption journey by the
yeah.
end.
Which I guess makes sense because when he becomes Venom, by then he's such a professional, reformed person, reformed human being.
Yeah. Yeah. Flash Thompson has now become a fan favorite as Agent Venom
Yeah.
and now Agent Anti Venom. So,
Yeah. A friend of Peter too.
anyways, yes, exactly. But back to the story. Harry is like seen like in flashbacks watching Peter and MJ from afar. You can tell it's the issues where Johnny Storm is around because it's the scene of Peter and MJ talking to Johnny in the parking lot. And then it cuts to Harry discussing his father's affairs with the lawyers and with his grandfather. And he's still also fighting back flashbacks of repressed memories of the whole
Yeah.
goblin incident slash incidents, plural.
hmm And his big thing, he refuses to sell the factories, even though they're like he can make good money.
Yeah, no, like he's with his grandfather at the old Oscorp family site, which is like in shambles, and they're talking about selling to Hammer Industries, and he's like, "No, we're not selling." He's like, "This is mine. This is what I inherited from my parents."
Which is makes no sense. I'm like, when you're running, you have a dying company that's like shedding money. Just sell it for good money. You'll be fine. You can never spend that money in your
It's
lifetime. Just do
pride.
it. Yeah, I'd
It's the
sell it.
pride talking.
I'd sell it.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I mean,
That's
honestly,
good
I
money.
would take the money. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know how to run a factory, kid. You could barely do your science homework, we later find out. Just sell the factory.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But he later gets a mysterious call when he's talking to his grandfather, and it asks him to come outside where there is a car waiting for him. That's exactly what you want to hear when you get a call on the phone. But he approaches the limo outside or the car outside, and it is Mr. Shaw, Norman Osborn's old like freelance hitman, and he takes
Yeah.
Harry for a little ride.
He says like your father and I were in the Gulf together, and I'm like, does this imply Norman Osborn's a war veteran?
I think so, yeah. They like served together in the military in the Gulf. Yeah. So that's a thing.
I was gonna say like a lot
Yeah.
of the old Marvel heroes were war veterans. Like people forget Mr. Fantastic and Professor X were war veterans in the old comics at
That's
first.
true. Yeah.
They fought in the Korean
Yeah, a
War.
lot of Marvel heroes and villains now, I guess, have war history and military service. So,
Yeah, Mr. Fantastic served in the Korean War of all places.
yeah, I mean, now it's been retconned to this fictional war that is now timeless. So, no matter where
Mhm.
you go on the sliding time scale, as real time moves by, the war will have existed in Marvel history with this fictional country that's kind of a stand in for Vietnam.
Yeah,
Anyways, yeah, Mr. Shaw also tells Harry that he's been hypnotized out of some traumatic memories, and he's only like giving this to him now, like these secrets of his father, Norman, because up until now, Norman wanted him to be a regular kid, but now it's up to him to like step up now that his dad's gone. And
yeah.
so Shaw, he does a real like Captain America Civil War Winter Soldier code words on him and says cellar door is the phrase and unlocks Harry's memories and reveals, you know, all these things about the Goblin fighting Spider-Man and the Goblin fighting the Ultimates and killing Harry's mom. And Spider-Man appears in these memories more and more as the flashbacks go on until it's this haunting image of Spider-Man as this menacing figure um, about to attack Harry. So Harry gets his memories back.
Like in the movies where James Franco is obsessed with killing Spider-Man for the longest time. Spider-Man killed my father.
Yeah,
I'm gonna kill him. That's my James
yeah,
Franco
it's
impression.
very much the same thing where Harry now has this obsession with Spider-Man, and you can
Yeah.
see it in the visuals as it like weighs on him as his memories come back. And then the issue ends with Shaw giving Harry his father's old bunker, being like, "I wanted to give you this." Then,
You know, some of us inherit like clocks or suits from our relatives. Harry just gets a bunker.
yeah, he gets an old World War II bunker. That's fine.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
also houses like secret goblin gadgets and everything.
Like the movie where James Franco, Harry
Yeah,
Osborn finds like a bunker full of old Green
yeah, at
Goblin
the end of
equipment.
Spider-Man 2. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was such a cool reveal when that
I
happens.
know.
Like I saw
And
that in the
I
theater. I have a very vivid memory. I was like 7 when that movie came out, and seeing that in the theater, being like, "Oh shit, he found his dad's goblin stuff. Spider-Man 3 is going to
yeah,
be insane. He's going to
I
be fighting
know.
Harry."
I thought he's gonna be the Hobgoblin. He's gonna be the Hobgoblin.
But that's just an ultimate.
Yeah, just ultimate. I mean, Hobgoblin's basically like a hireable. It's like a legacy costume where like if you want to be a villain and you just or like I have access to goblin stuff, you just become Hobgoblin. It's not like you choose to become
Yeah,
Hobgoblin as much as it's like an available costume you could just take at a certain point. You know?
I mean, Roderick Kingsley will always be the prime Hobgoblin, but over the years,
hmm
so many people have either claimed the title or have been framed as the Hobgoblin or have been suspected to be the Hobgoblin. It's been a clusterfuck
Yeah,
over the years in terms of like who the Hobgoblin is. But at the end of the day, it's probably more often than not just going to be Roderick Kingsley. But in
yeah.
Ultimate, we'll see. It's going to be Harry Osborn. Issue 74 begins back in the present, and Peter is kind of baffled by Harry's big reveal that Harry and MJ used to date,
Yeah.
and he's shocked by this. And there's also a cool visual of Harry holding the Spider-Man mask, and you can see his eyes reflected in the lenses, and it's a very intense look on his face. And so
It
he's definitely there for serious business.
and he goes on and on like, you and I, Peter, we gotta be together. You and I are the only ones that can help each other. It's kind of like how the way his
Yep.
dad talked about like Peter and he are like two of a kind, the only ones of this kind.
Yeah.
He's
No,
inheriting
totally. He
stuff.
sounds just like Norman. You can hear him imitating a lot of the way he speaks and the way that he addresses Peter. Of course, in this case, it's more of the we're brothers kind of case rather than, oh, you're my boy, which is what Norman was saying. Harry
Yeah,
is now like, oh, we only have each other now. We're the only ones who can understand what we've been through. No one else
yeah.
can. People
Which
know,
is
but like no one has experienced like we have.
which is weird. It also reminds me of like the way they act or they try to act like for the character in Amazing Spider-Man 2, where like they try to go this way, but they just don't really get around to it.
I mean, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 Harry is rough because they literally introduce him in that same movie and then later have this whole arc of him then descending into what I call the meth goblin, which is where he turns into his version of the Green Goblin, who is just, he looks like a meth addict. It
well,
just looks so awful. It does not look good at all.
well, the Goblin formula is a drug technically. It is drugs, and
Yeah,
it's been used in various media as a stand-in for substance abuse and addiction.
yeah,
Even in
this is true. And so it makes sense in that way, but if that was the only issue, was just the appearance of the goblin, I mean, that would still be kind of rough because that would not look great. But the whole
okay,
story
well,
is convoluted and rushed. I think the benefit of Harry's arc in the original Raimi movies is that it happens over all three movies in the trilogy. You
yeah,
see Harry's descent and you see what he goes through, and you see his relationship with Peter start to crumble and deteriorate, and you see the love triangle with him and MJ. For all of Spider-Man's three flaws, I think they do that pretty well with this is like a culmination of all three movies. Is like Peter and Harry's the tensions in their relationship coming to a head. And
yeah,
then also the healing of forgiveness and kind of moving past that and learning to reconcile their friendship and their brotherly
yeah.
bond.
Harry literally dies for Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like so sad, and I think that's the best part of Spider-Man 3 is that I mean the Sandman's good too, and then but
yeah,
it's just too much in one movie, bottom
yeah.
line. And it's the
You know,
same thing with the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is that it's too much in one movie, but also the Harry storyline just is too rushed. You don't really feel like these are guys who have known each other their whole lives. And also the whole thing about, oh, I can't give you my blood. And then he's like, I hate you, Spider-Man. I'm like, really? That's it?
you know, I think Harry Osborn is James Franco's best role. I'm not gonna say he's been bad in other
Yeah.
things. I mean, and I don't think he's gonna be in much things now that he's been Me Too, which I knew was gonna happen because I grew up in LA, still kind of live there, and so I knew people went to UCLA who had bad stories about him. And I was like, oh, this guy should not teach. And lo and behold, he got Me Too, and I'm like, I knew this was coming. The instant Me Too was happening. So
I
that's a side.
mean, I'll be honest. Some stories come out about actors and directors and people in the industry, even comic writers and stuff. Sometimes it's genuinely shocking, like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. With James Franco, there I was not surprised.
Really? I was surprised when I found
Oh
out. Not when Me
no.
Too happened. I was a high schooler. Before I was not I was in college. We were in college when Me Too happened. But I was in high school when I found out from my friends' older brothers and sisters who go to film school in UCLA. They're like, yeah, don't take James Franco's class. He's a useless teacher who just bangs students. I was like, James Franco? Harry Osborn? How could he do such a thing? He was so cool in
That's not
Spider-Man.
shocking.
It was shocking. I was a
I
kid.
mean,
Imagine this guy in this movie you loved growing up was banging students. I knew nothing
he
else
gave
other
off
than
that energy.
I did not realize it because I didn't see his other movies until I was in college. And okay, he's been good in other stuff, but I think Harry Osborn is his best role. And I think the reason they can't repeat what Raimi did is I feel the structure of the newer Spider-Man movies, both MCU and Amazing, just aren't patient enough to do it. Well, I
Hmm.
mean, they just didn't do Harry in MCU, but I don't know. When Ned Leeds is a Hobgoblin, they could just easily just do him with, I guess, in Hobgoblin, him being Hobgoblin in the MCU, I guess, especially because it's coming back for the newer
I don't know.
movies.
I think that would be dumb for a number of reasons.
You fat shaming him?
No, I'm not fat shaming him. First of all, Ned Leeds was never really the Hobgoblin.
Oh, we all know that's a bullshit retcon.
Yeah, well, it happened. Whether or not that's it, like that's just how it happened. It was Roderick Kingsley the whole time. I don't know
It
why
could lead.
everyone is just shallowly reading into this, being like, "Well, Ned Leeds was intended to be the Hobgoblin for a while. People thought he was the Hobgoblin for a while, so it must no, it was never him. It was Roderick Kingsley."
Uh,
Second of all, he doesn't even really play Ned Leeds. He's playing Genki from Miles Morales' Spider-Man cast. He's
you
playing
could
that character, not Ned Leeds.
you
That's
could
not
change
Ned
him a bit.
Leeds.
You could change him a bit.
That's just it's not going to happen. I don't know why
Okay.
everyone keeps saying that's going to happen. It's if it does happen, I'll be surprised and I won't have a problem with it. I'm sure they'd find a way to pull it off, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it at all.
Yeah.
That's my mini rant.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, back in class, Peter is kind of ignoring MJ.
Yeah, he's giving her the cold shoulder.
She writes in a notebook if he wants to make out, and he just ignores her. What a Chad!
Yeah, I bet you'd like that, didn't you, Josh? Yeah.
I did love that. He's a Chad. It's like,
He's just being no, he's just mad because I mean, here he's justifiably mad because MJ never told him that she and Harry had a thing before they ever dated. And you'd think that you would bring something like that up. That seems like a pretty big thing to leave out.
and especially
So,
because it gives off two things. He goes like, "I'm either a rebound, or you admitted to me you're in love with me this whole time, but you still chose Harry over me." So
yeah. And that's the big thing that he confronts her about when Peter is later on the roof of the school in his Spider-Man costume. You can tell he's like shutting himself down, and I think it's a cool detail visually to put him in the Spider-Man costume so you don't really see him as Peter. He's kind of putting himself under this armor and shutting himself off from MJ when he's confronting her.
yeah,
She's like, "How come you never told me? How come you never said anything?" The biggest concern he has is you're going to die. You're going to get killed by being messed up with the Osborns. You have to stay away from Harry. And it's a real fear he has because he's lost a lot of people. I mean, he has
yeah,
lost Uncle Ben, obviously, is the first one, but also Gwen most recently. And he's really lost Harry and the whole drama of his family, and he knows it. He's being a control freak here, but it does make sense because he's doing this to actually try and save the people he loves from danger. This is a legitimate concern and a legitimate threat. I think whenever anything comes up that's not in his control, like he had no idea she and Harry were together, he loses it and he starts spiraling because he's like, all right, this is a piece of information I didn't have. This is another, what else is out of my control? I can't actually do anything to stop this and save everyone I love.
still would rather him dump her for like petty insecurity reasons that she chose Harry over him at one point, rather than the fact like he justifies it in wrapping it around like you're in danger. Because we already had this talk a few times. We don't need to go through it again as readers.
I think the tough thing is the more he loses and the more he goes through, the tighter he starts clinging on to the things that he can control.
Yeah.
And the problem is he can't control people and he
Mhm.
can't control MJ, and MJ is her own person and obviously has free will and agency.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the choices she makes then bothers him, like this and like keeping this from her. And that's the real thing that gets between them, is he feels like he needs to be in control to protect everyone, but he can't. And
Yeah.
that's the sad reality of it, that he
Yeah.
can't really accept.
When he's going on this rant about this stuff, he's also wearing his mask the whole time, and MJ keeps demanding he takes it off, and finally he takes it off.
Yeah. And he's crying. He has tears in his eyes. It's really showing how distraught and how stressed and torn up he's been about this whole situation underneath, even though he hid it literally by wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because the scene ends with him just saying, like, I never should have told you who I was. And he swings away.
Yeah. Like, I get this, but honestly, I am tired of the breakup story. And you are too, and most of the readers are, as we've been told from our audience.
Yes, yeah. People definitely got tired of the constant fighting and breaking up of Peter and MJ in the Ultimate Universe. I do have a comment from Dr. Doom IRL, one of our followers, on one of our earlier posts, a post that is literally about the first Peter and MJ breakup in Ultimate. They were like, yeah, this was shocking when I first read it. And then after the next few times, I kind of got sick of it. And I was like, yeah, that seems about right. Me too.
I have mixed feelings about it because I'm like, I'm really tired. I'm sick of the breakup story. But at the same time, like, teenagers are really messy and they break up and get back together all the time. Because, like, teenage relationships are always, like, a bit stupid.
And to be fair, in this scene, it doesn't feel like it's really a breakup. It is a big fight and it's close, and MJ doesn't know where they stand at this point and if
Yeah,
this was a breakup, but yeah, it's not looking good. It's bad.
yeah.
And MJ is walking down the halls at school and she runs into Harry, and she's really angry with Harry about what he told Peter and why he told Peter and all this stuff and what he's even doing there. And Harry's pretty shitty and manipulative with her. He's talking about, well, Peter isn't happy and he shouldn't be taking stuff out on you. Also, yeah, well, did Peter tell you that, like, he killed my father? I'm like, well, okay. You're really just trying to manipulate her and try and turn her against Peter. It's pretty shitty behavior.
Kind of reminds me of Harry in Spider-Man 3. There's a lot of, I didn't realize until I'm saying it loud, there's a lot of Raimi Spider-Man parallels, but also he's trying to get between them. He's pretty good when he puts his mind to it, manipulating Peter and Mary Jane, like James Franco.
He's really inherited a lot of manipulation tactics from his dad, and
Yeah.
I think it's really shitty how he's using pieces of information that are almost kind of true to turn MJ against Peter, seemingly.
Yeah. I half expected him to literally go like, by the way, when I kissed her, she was wearing cherry lipstick or something, like from the movie.
Strawberries.
Yeah, that was our thing.
It was just like I used to kiss her.
Yeah, this one is less. He's less focused on that. He's in this case, he's just trying to get MJ to. It's weird though because he tries to also. He's more subtle about it in the way that he doesn't blame. He makes it seem he doesn't blame Peter while throwing in the information that he killed his dad, saying, "I get why Peter had to kill my dad. It was self-defense." It's like a very
Yeah, I'm like,
clever way of spinning it, where you go like,
yeah, it's so
you,
slimy.
yeah, I'm honestly impressed. Like, good on you, Harry. Like, that's like some little finger stuff from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, grade A manipulation tactics.
I know. Great man, Littlefinger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He died well.
He does not die in the
But
books.
yeah, then, well, the books never got finished.
That's fair.
But yeah, we cut to Spider-Man busting up a mugging at a hot dog stand.
Yeah.
He gets really angry at this mugger who's holding up a hot dog vendor, and he really lays into him. He beats the crap out of him and throws the guy into a windshield head first.
One of the lady muggers is freaked out. She's like, you, like, she goes like, no, like, the guy's name.
Yeah. No, mugger number 1. I can't remember your name. He's not conscious.
And Peter Ash feels bad about it. Goes, oh, runs to the hospital. It's like,
yeah,
shoot.
He takes this guy to the hospital and is holding him like, you know, Crisis on Infinite Earths, like Superman holding Supergirl pose when he walks in, or like Dark Phoenix Saga, Scott holding Jean kind of pose. He's like, yeah, tell the police when they get here that I'll be waiting outside. And he's fully planning on just turning himself in because he feels so guilty, which is just classic Spider-Man.
There's always this criticism of superheroes, I think, is somewhat valid, of like, superheroes are just about like this revenge fantasy of people beating the crap out of poor people. But that's not the case with Peter Parker. Like, he genuinely doesn't want this guy to die. Kind of like what we were talking about earlier. Just because you're a bad person doesn't mean you deserve to get killed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Peter feels guilt over almost everything, too. So that's a big factor in it. And I think he takes responsibility for his actions to a fault, is a big thing about Peter Parker and Spider-Man in general. Yeah. So he's fully willing to just turn himself into the cops because he's so convinced that he almost or did kill this guy because he feels so horrible about it. And guess who shows up? Jean DeWolf, who is a very famous, well, not the most famous, but comic fans will recognize her from the main universe. She is a famous ally of Spider-Man, mainly from the 80s. And then even more famous for the death of Jean DeWolf storyline. So spoilers, she does die, but she is an important figure in Spider-Man history and Spider-Man supporting cast. And this version of the character is also a police officer who is very friendly to him and is like, oh yeah, I was there at the incident where Gladiator tried to rob the museum and you saved everyone.
And he goes like, his name was Gladiator?
Yeah, like he had no idea. He's like, oh, that guy?
Because they're just like one-off villains, you know? They don't deserve a name.
Yeah, he was forgettable in Ultimate. I didn't even
Yeah.
remember he appeared in Ultimate.
I had no idea who she was talking about for a while.
Yeah, Gina's like, yeah, this guy's gonna be fine. He'll pull through. Just a bad concussion. Nothing. He'll live. And Peter's obviously he was beating himself up about it, but it wasn't as bad as he thought.
Yeah.
And Jean offers Peter like her card and was like, yeah, just give me a call whenever you need. And I was like,
It's
oh, cool. This is just like the main universe. She's like his friend on the force, one of the few that he's got.
it's also shows that like I feel like the establishment, like the police, are kind of accepting his Spider-Man is gonna be there, whether they like it or not, and he's relatively a good thing to just have on the streets.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are people who are more on his side and more recognize that he's doing good.
And also, there is this thing where she tells them, "You smell like hot dogs. Girls don't like that." Which is like porn doggy, but also
Yeah.
Peter's gonna be single soon, so
Yeah. He'll need that advice.
I don't know how to be that guy, but people like hot dogs. Maybe if more men smelled like hot dogs, there'd be less single men.
I don't know about that. I'm gonna have to pull some friends, maybe just people in the area. I'm sure most women probably wouldn't like it.
Well, let's like add some. Let's also add gay men to the list because like maybe they have a different perspective. They go, yeah, when a guy smells like a hot dog, it's like it's cool because it means they're down to earth and have a regular diet. Well, actually, hot dogs are not that
It's
good for you.
possible.
Are we shaming
There's a
Costco workers?
demographic for everything.
Exactly, but also like people like Costco workers. They smell like hot dogs. I bet.
Yeah, I bet they do. But I think
Exactly.
they shower and, put on deodorant
Uh
that
huh.
distracts from the smell of Costco. But yeah, Peter then goes home to Aunt May and she's like, oh yeah, MJ was just stopping by. It seemed like you guys had a big fight, but I used it to guilt her into helping me unpack around the house, which is hilarious. But
Aunt
Aunt May
May.
is very comforting and very sweet about the whole situation.
Yeah, but she also points out, you gotta stay away from the Osborn family because people forget the idea that the Osborns
Yeah.
are bad luck comes from Aunt May. So I think Peter actually picked up on.
Yeah, she gives good advice. Like, yeah, you should stay away from them. Like, they're
Yeah,
bad news.
yeah.
But then Peter gets a call. Well, they got a call at home, and Aunt May answers, and she's like, oh, Peter's not home, which is funny. She says to
Oh.
Harry, he's not here. She's trying to, like, keep him away, but Peter just grabs the phone and is like, yeah, Harry, what's up? And Harry ominously is like, it's time, bring the costume. Like, uh-oh, what could this be about? That
Oh,
does
we
not
all know
sound
what it's
good.
about. Harry does not need a Spider-Man at his charity. He needs to, he's gonna do some shit.
Yeah, he's not asking him just to show up for the Make-A-Wish Foundation or something.
In Amazing Spider-Man 2, wasn't the plot that he wants Spider-Man to show up to his hospital room so he can drink his blood to cure him of cancer or something?
Or get a blood transfusion, not drink his blood.
He does drink his blood. He literally drinks it out of a vial, doesn't he? Or am I completely misremembering the movie?
I don't know. I'll have to see that clip from the movie again, but I think it's mainly just he needs his blood. I don't think it's specifically to drink it like a vampire.
Would you ever be down to watch that movie again? It's like a 3-hour long movie, but it does have a lot of
For a
ultimate
second, I thought
references.
you were going to ask if I'd be down to drink blood, and I was like, fuck no, but thank God you were just talking about watching that movie. Yeah, I'd be down to watch it.
Yeah, good people don't drink blood.
No, they don't.
Yes, I'm glad you finally agree.
Anyways, the next issue, issue 75, and it's another flashback issue. It starts with a flashback to Shaw when he was showing Harry his father's safe house, which was an old World War II bunker, but obviously Norman turned it into a goblin hideout. And
Yeah.
there's a couple of fun Easter eggs there because you can see the masks lined up and you can see there's the Sam Raimi like Green Goblin helmet and then the classic Green Goblin mask from 616 where he looks more like just your Halloween-y type like goblin with like the hood and everything.
Which I believe is the implication that Norman was always going to turn himself into like another thing. And it just happened this time the Goblin form turned him into an actual monster.
Yeah, turned him into a Hulk-like goblin monster. Really.
That you need like Avengers to take out. Harry has a freak out and tries to run, but Shaw kind of beats the crap out of him and like, hits him with code words.
Yeah, shuts him down. And so he gets shut down, wakes up in New York, and Shaw's still there. And he's like, yeah, we need to find your dad. And I won't be able to find him on my own. I haven't been able to. I don't exist legally, and I want to keep it that way. So you have to go out there and you have to use your friend Peter to find your dad because your dad is dying, and we need to save him.
We need to help him.
Nick Fury's
help
lying to you.
The words he
Yeah.
uses is, "We need to help him help himself," which is such a arrogant way of phrasing it. It's interesting because he also goes like, "I Shield doesn't know I exist," like specifically, and I think they have 24/7 security on Peter, but you could sneak past it.
And so it's really what I found funny reading this is like even with Norman Osborn not present, Harry is still being used and manipulated and controlled by his father. He's being convinced all these things about Nick Fury's lying to you. Norman Osborn didn't kill your mom. You have to use Peter to find him. You need to help your dad. You need to talk to Peter. You need to save your father.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because first I saw Harry being manipulative and shady for both Peter and MJ. But I think the interesting thing is like a lot of the time, these manipulative, controlling people you find, even in real life, they too have been victims. And a lot of the times, more often than not, they have experienced manipulation and control on their end. And so
Yeah.
they just continue that cycle of manipulation and controlling behavior then to other people. And that's kind of
Hmm.
what you see with Harry here.
Yeah. He's good at it. I'll give him that. He could have been a good businessman if he was given the chance to grow as an adult, manipulating
Yeah,
the people.
you learn from the best.
Yep. You learn from the
A-
best.
And back in the present day, Aunt May won't let Peter go to meet Harry because it's too late for her. She's like, it's 8, 9 o'clock at night or something on a school night. No, you're not leaving again.
I love this idea. He
Yeah,
can't
it makes sense.
he can't do the superhero battle because it's basically grounded for a night. It's a school
Yeah,
night, young man. No
which is
more
very
superhero.
true to the idea of Spider-Man. He's a teenager, and obviously his parental guardian is not going to let him leave at night to just go wherever he wants. Like, there's
Yeah.
limits and restrictions there.
And she, of course, tells him, "Don't get." As she said multiple times, "Don't get involved with the Osborns. They're bad juju. It's like all that money, which is like something I always hear from
Yeah,
in media. It's like, don't get involved with the rich family. You'll get sucked into all the rich family problems."
which is, yeah, that is true here to the nth degree.
And Peter storms off, and Mom May goes, "If you want to talk things out, you can talk with me." But Peter just storms off into his room.
Yeah. And then the next day in class, Peter's still ignoring MJ as they walk by on campus in class when they're sitting next to each other.
Yeah,
And so he's really still giving her the cold shoulder. And then finally, during lunch, she goes to find Peter and he's just sitting on the bleachers up by the football field.
like Taylor Swift.
Exactly
From
like Taylor Swift.
exactly. She's on the bleachers. I'm in the background. Da-na-na-na-na-na.
I
You know
don't
which song
think you
I'm.
know the lyrics to this song.
But you know which song I'm talking about. That's the point, right?
Yes. This
Yeah,
scene specifically inspired the You Belong With Me music video.
I knew it. I knew it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure you did.
Of course, she comes up and tries to explain things like, "I tried to talk to you about Harry. I didn't know how to bring it up naturally because it always would just come off as weird." Which is not right, but I get it. These things are awkward. You don't like to tell your
Yeah.
partner about your ex-ish, especially if that's his best friend.
Yeah, it can be awkward and hard to find a time when it comes up, especially with all the drama that went on with the Goblin and all the other bigger issues that they've had. And Peter's pretty forgiving when she apologizes for not telling him about Harry, which is great to
Yeah.
see. And then she finally reveals, she brings up this idea that Peter killed Harry's dad. And he's like, no, what? And she's like, yeah,
What?
but you didn't kill him. It was self-defense, right? She does give him the benefit of the doubt, to be
Yeah.
fair to her, even
Which
if
Harry
she
also
does
did.
kind of believe Harry.
Which Harry
Yeah.
also did, to be fair.
And so it doesn't really turn her against him, but she's like, oh yeah, it's, it's not, I know it was self-defense. Like, I knew you wouldn't like maliciously kill someone like that. And
Yeah,
then he's
dude,
like,
it's a
what do
dog
you
eat dog
mean?
world.
Like, yeah.
It's a
And
dog
first he's like, first of all, Norman isn't even dead. What do
He's
you
in
mean?
jail.
And also, yeah, like he's in Shield custody. He's not dead. And if he was dead, I didn't kill him. She's like, well, Harry told me. And he's like, what are you doing talking to Harry? He's crazy. And so he just storms off to go find Harry because now he's pissed off and is on to Harry and knows he's trying to like manipulate them and has some kind of agenda.
Yeah. Harry is revealed as getting the shit beaten out of him by Shaw, who's trying to force him to do something. Spider-Man arrives, but he doesn't see Shaw. Because Shaw is like
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe in the Spider-Man movies. He's not real.
Yeah, this is a big like M. Night Shyamalan like Sixth Sense twist. Shaw just was never there. He's the figment of Harry's imagination.
Like Willem
He's
Dafoe.
hallucinating Shaw. Yeah, literally.
The heart, Harry. Go for the heart.
Yeah. When he would appear in the mirror in front of Harry after he had been long dead. And when he would like speak to him through his portrait or whatever. Yeah.
I feel
So
sad for Willem Dafoe. I think he's a great character actor, but I don't know. Like, I feel he's kind of like a B-list, kind of shafted for like the big roles, even though he's so good. Well,
yes, Willem Dafoe is a great actor, and I love him, and I think he kills it all the times that he plays Norman Osborn slash the Green Goblin. But yes, there's this really tense scene, and this is the inspiration I think you get of like Harry hallucinating his dad in the Raimi movies, like you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
And like Harry is like fighting with Shaw, or who he imagines to be Shaw, while Peter's trying to confront him and like actually talk to him, but he's being drowned out by the voices, mainly Shaw, like just leaning on him and really pressuring him.
Especially because Shaw's like thrashing him around. So from Peter's perspective, this guy's just like stroking out for all he knows. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And finally, Harry like says the code word cellar door, and this big reveal comes in to play. This flashback to we'd been seeing partial flashbacks to this, but now we finally get the full flashback that reveals Harry was there in the lab when the Green Goblin was first created, and he got hit by the same like Oz formula that Norman
yeah.
did. And as he says the code word cellar door in the present day, he lights on fire and starts transforming into the Hobgoblin.
It's the very Hulkish thing that this Green Goblin is. You know,
Yeah. No, it's pretty crazy, but that's how we end
yeah,
75. And so yeah, the first few parts of this was all the setup and like, really like building up the tension for what in the next few issues will be the payoff and also the aftermath of this story. But this was crazy. I
yeah,
really love these issues. These were like
yeah,
nuts. These were like, this is what I love about Ultimate Spider-Man and Spider-Man in general, honestly. Like they really
yeah.
amped up the stakes. They made it personal. Oh my gosh, like the pacing was so good. I was on the edge of my seat.
That's the thing. I really did like this issue. I liked. It's just the MJ Peter thing. Like even this one wasn't that bad of a breakup in terms of how it was written. It's just I'm like you're just tired
Mhm.
of it happening over and over again. Like I honestly feel at times that they've
Yeah.
written multiple breakup storylines, and the writers just liked all of them, and they just found a way to shove them all into the comic.
Yeah, it's tough. I think people can get tired of the will they, won't they, slash fight, break up, get back together kind of repetitiveness of relationships in any serialized medium.
Yeah,
So, yeah, that can be tough. I think so far it's been done well in this story arc and how the tension's been handled and like the real relationship drama. But yeah, it can get exhausting after a while. I hear you.
yeah.
Yeah, any other final thoughts on these issues, Josh?
I feel I said my thoughts. I liked it. Just tired of one specific thing, you know?
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And I
Yeah.
see where you're coming from.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime, buddy.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was so exciting. I'm so excited for the next episode. We're going to talk about the final few issues in this arc, Ultimate Spider-Man 76 through 78. It's going to
Yeah.
be really great. I love and I live for the drama that is this arc of Ultimate Spider-Man.
I like the breakup here too. I
Mm-hmm.
just am tired of it happening over and over again. Like that's my problem with this arc is like I think this would have been the perfect arc out of context of some of the other breakup storylines because so much stuff
Yeah,
happens.
but
The
it can
breakup
get
itself is
exhausting when
intrigue.
you have the constant, yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
push and pull, the back and forth can be tiring.
Yeah.
But yeah, until next time, Josh, where can our listeners email us if they want to get in touch with us?
Ultimate Comics Podcast at gmail.com. That's comics plural, podcast singular at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from anyone who messages us. So,
That's right. Yeah, just write into us, just talking about the issues we read, talking about comics in general, what we talk about on our show, about
yeah.
anything you have for us either. And it would be fun to read it on an episode of the show. And if
Yeah.
that's too old fashioned for you, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, just all at Ultimate Comics Podcast. So on Instagram, we have all of our reels and pictures from the comics that we read. We also have TikToks that are pretty much the same as the reels we have on our Instagram. But for those of you on TikTok, we got plenty of those. And we have full video episodes of our podcast on YouTube. So feel free to check those out if you're more of a visual
Yeah.
person. But yeah, until next time, we'll come back with Ultimate Spider-Man issues 76 through 78. So take care and make mine Ultimate Marvel. Bye bye.